I enjoy a good one-nighter. No, not that kind of a one-nighter. A one-nighter on my motorcycle. I enjoy riding my Yamaha Tenere 700 on day trips and multi-day adventures, but it's also very special just to go on an overnight trip. An overnight trip doesn't take a lot of planning, doesn't take a lot of gear, and it doesn't take a lot of time, just 2 days. So I decided to take an overnighter on a circuitous route through the Klamath National Forest in Northern California and spend the night near Happy Camp on the Klamath River. So come join me on this one-nighter as I take an enjoyable 2-day adventure ride. Well, I am off on a one-nighter. I guess you could call it a one-night stand. But what it is I'm just going on an overnight trip, and I enjoy maybe once a year just going on a single night motorcycle ride as opposed to a day ride or a multi-day ride. I owned a 1965 Honda Sport 50 when I was in high school, and I really wanted to take that motorcycle out on an overnighter, and it was only 50cc, and at the best I could do 45 miles an hour, but I loaded it up with a piece of plastic as a tent and a sleeping bag. I think I had a can of beans and some matches, and there was a state forest about 100 miles or so from where I lived in Northeast Ohio. So I told my mom I was going on an overnighter. She thought it was nuts, and I loaded up my Honda Sport 50 and I took off. So today that is what I am doing. I'm going to go on an overnighter. I'm going to head down the Klamath River. This area had 2 major fires that are under control right now, but a lot of the areas in the Klamath National Forest are closed because they're mopping up the fires. Now I could take a direct route to Happy Camp. I could go down Interstate 5 and cut off on State Highway 96, and that'll take me there. All paved roads. But what fun would that be, right? I'm on an adventure motorcycle. So I'm taking a circuitous route, both there and back. One of the things I like about riding an adventure motorcycle is to explore the communities that I ride through. And here I am in the little community of Hilt. Really all that's left of it is the church here, which was established in 1925. Hilt was fairly thriving in the late 1800s, early 1900s. Lumber, mining, ranching. It also had fruit growing, but most of the major fruit growing and boxing industry closed in the 1970s. This area around the Colstein and Hilt, northern part of California, is very dry. You can see a lot of dead trees that I think are just dying from the drought, not necessarily from fire. Well, I'm riding a road in the Klamath National Forest that hopefully will take me from my last stop where I was in Hilt to the Klamath River, drop me right into the Klamath River and Highway 96. So it's in pretty good shape though. This road's fine. I'm doing about 25 miles an hour. I'm just coming up and over a pass. I'm going to drop down into the valley that's in front of me here. I see a sign there that says this is a plantation, Sustainable Forestry Initiative, Fruit Growers Supply Company lands. Planted these trees down here in 2004. Well, I just came down to Highway 96, and right across from me, up on the hill, I can see all the burned landscape and the trees. Well, I'm driving through this little town here, and as you can probably see on the sides, it's completely burned. And the hillsides are burned, a lot of the structures are burned. I'll stop down here and see what the name of the place is. So I'm at Quigley's store here, Quigley Station. You can see the hills behind that are all burned. This store was spared, but most of the rest of the town's gone. The McKinney fire ignited on the afternoon of July 29th, 2022, and spread quickly. Within a few weeks, the fire had reached its final perimeter size of approximately 60,000 acres. Many structures were lost, including the entire town of Klamath River. Many firefighters were injured fighting this fire in steep terrain, and 4 civilians lost their life. The cause of the fire is unknown, but authorities have ruled out lightning as a source. However, downriver, the Yeti Fire complex was ignited by lightning and spread to approximately 17,000 acres. Well, I stopped off in the Sayad Valley here along the Klamath River. One thing I do sometimes when I'm on a road trip is I get some ice cream. I don't normally eat ice cream at home, but gosh, on a motorcycle on a warm day like today, that's going to be great. The Klamath River originates in southern Oregon and flows 257 miles, mostly through Northern California, where it discharges into the Pacific Ocean. The river drains a huge area of almost 16,000 square miles. The Klamath River is one of the most important North American rivers for anadromous fish migration, salmon and steelhead. The region is sparsely populated with only a handful of small towns scattered along the entire length of the river. So I had to stop and check this out. I'm on a remote stretch of highway here. It's no settlements around at all, and there's a phone box here, probably because of that. And I'm wondering if there's actually is a phone. Yeah, there is. Look, there is a phone and a phone book inside of here. Wow. When's the last time you saw a public phone? But of course, this is for emergency uses on this lonely stretch of highway and river. Later in the afternoon, I made it to Happy Camp. The sign when I entered claims there's 1,100 residents, but they must be scattered up in the hills because the town itself is quite small. Although the town is quite small, it is the largest settlement on this very long river. The nearest city of any size is Wairika, California, population 7,500, and it is a 60-mile windy drive away from Happy Camp. Well, there's only one restaurant in town, and that's this little pizza place. And I didn't need a whole pizza. They don't sell it by the slice, so I got some nachos and a beer. So that's kind of my pre-dinner. Okay, got a camp spot for the night. Nothing special. Just set up my tent and relax the rest of the evening. Well, good morning. It was a good night. Didn't get that cold. I didn't have to put a rain fly on my tent. I think it got down maybe into the mid-50s. Talked to a lady today. She thinks it's going to get in the 90s today. It's a little warm for 30th of September. But anyhow, I'm going to have my coffee here and pack up and head out on day 2 of my one-nighter. Of course, I checked the weather before I travel, and the weather was going to be just fine on this trip. and I like to travel light. So I thought I'd go over real quickly what I take on a one-nighter. I take, of course, a backpacking tent you saw from last night. It has a rainfly, which I didn't use. I've got a nice down sleeping bag that packs down pretty tightly and keeps me plenty warm. A nice insulated inflatable pad, which is comfortable, also adds warmth. I've got an inflatable pillow. I have a kit here with my personal items, toothbrush and such. I do carry an extra squeeze water bottle for a filtration system. I have gotten close to run out of water a few times, and I can stop by a creek and fill up with fresh water. Here's a bag with some clothes in it, and the clothes I bring are clothes to sleep in or extra thermal layers, but I don't really need many. And then here's my breakfast items. I've got some oatmeal, instant coffee. Some of you won't like that. I do bring two lights. One's a headlamp, and the other one is this Lucy lamp, which is solar charged. I bring up a small camp towel, very small. My stove is a butane propane little stove, small pot to heat water in, a cup for coffee or for the instant oatmeal. I can put that in too. I have a 2-liter water bottle. I'm not bringing a backpacking water container on this trip. I do have a backpack, which I don't wear because I don't really care to wear a backpack on a motorcycle, but it's got my camera gear and my drone and stuff on it, in it. And then I've got one paper map, Klamath National Forest map. I've got my Garmin. A lot of you ask about that or make a comment. And yes, I do have a Garmin. I use it quite a bit. I used it last night and let my family and friends know where I'm at, and I tie it to my mapping, which I use too. Got a pen, which I find handy, and a pair of camp shoes. That is my kit on a one-nighter. And before I take off, I also wanted to talk a little bit more about safety, because I'm traveling solo, and I'm in my 70s, of course, and I'm on an adventure motorcycle on dirt roads and far away from people sometimes too. So I've got a whole video on my safety kit. I am not going to go through it all. I just did want to let everybody know that I do have a safety kit here with me. Yes, it's a bit big and bulky, and it does add some weight, but it also adds a lot of security to me. I have used items in there, and I take it with me, whether it's a day trip, a one-nighter like this, or a multi-day, multi-night trip. So, like I said, if you really like to see what I got in my safety kit, check out my video on my channel. Well, I'm going to get some gas, and there is a card lock reader here, which I don't have, but I was told there's a lady down here, if I pay her cash, she'll let me get some gas. So let me see if I can find her. I'm not sure exactly where she's at though. I'm trying to get some gas here. I was told there's a lady that lives here that I can pay her cash or something.
I think right through that gate. That'd be my best guess.
Okay.
I'm not sure.
I'll check that. All right, supposedly there's an office here. I'll check it out. I'm on the Yamaha Tenere 700. I get about 200 miles, and I don't have enough probably to get me up and over the mountain out of here. I do have a spare that I'm carrying with me. I'll show you in a second, but it only is an emergency to get me about 15 miles. Hi, I'm trying to get some gas. I've got some cash.
Well, I will be happy to take it all.
Oh, well, good. Well, it's a motorcycle, so it's not that much. Thanks.
Both your quarters.
Not too much trouble.
Nope. $11.25.
All right.
Yeah.
That's good. Got myself about 2 gallons just to be sure I can get over Grayback. All right, here's Bigfoot where I make the turn and I head up Grayback. I've been wanting to go up Grayback. I've heard about it. I think it's paved all the way. Okay, I'm not sure why I'm stopping. It might be for some more of these big mobile homes, but I did want to show that I do have extra gas I carry. This is 30 ounces. Probably get me about 15 or 20 miles. Okay, thank you. I headed north out of Happy Camp on the Grayback Mountain Road through the remnants of the 2020 Slater fire. The Slater fire was likely human-caused. It started early September on a very windy day and spread rapidly. The fire was not contained until it had spread to 157,000 acres and into Oregon. I made it to the top of the pass. I'm right at the border of the Klamath National Forest and the Rogue Siskiyou National Forest, which is my home forest. So I am going to be heading down the mountain that way towards Cave Junction. I don't know the route I'm going to take home yet though. And also, looking down from the pass, I noticed there is a car down here which came off this road. Didn't end well, obviously. So I've mentioned this in previous videos. I'm more about the journey than the destination. I don't ride an adventure motorcycle just to get from point A to point B. I stop a lot. I stop quite a bit, which is one of the reasons why I travel solo, because things just hit me and I say, hey, I want to go check this out. So I'm up here in this very dry area, but I'm going to check this place out. It is $8 Mountain Area of Critical Concern. I don't know what that means, but I'm going to investigate it. So the Bureau of Land Management has reserved this site, which is about 1,200 acres. You can see $8 Mountain right behind me. It's been set aside because of its botanical diversity. It's a dry site, but it has a lot of Jeffrey pines and manzanita. In addition to that, there's, I guess, a lot of different flowers and plants that grow here that don't grow anyplace else because of dry serpentine soils. And also there's some bogs which I'm heading to, which have Darlington plants, which are a insect-eating, a carnivorous plant. And we'll see if we can see any of those down here. And sure enough, there they are. You can see all the Darlington, California plants in this fairly large bog. So this very dry area has a bog with water in it and specific soil requirements for these carnivorous insect eating plants that we see here. Very unique. Well, I'm honestly not sure where I'm going, but it's a heck of a ride. Great road for an adventure motorcycle, and as you can see, I'm getting some awesome views. I'm gonna come out somewhere and hopefully make it over there, but I haven't seen a car for a long time. Well, I made it down out of the hills into Williams. That was my destination. There's the elementary school right behind me, and there's the little country store in this little crossroads town. So I'm about an hour out, so I'm just gonna head on back home after a great overnighter. I had a nice leisurely ride back home through the ranches, cannabis farms, and vineyards of southern Oregon. I had a very enjoyable one-nighter. I hope you enjoyed this video too. If you did, please give me a thumbs up, subscribe, be sure to hit the notify button, and I will see you next time on One of My Senior Moments.